hello to you, and thank you so much for being here. I am so excited. Everyone is so excited to have your really stunning work, Death is Elsewhere, Sumarnacht, Death is Elsewhere, in the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. So thank you for sharing the work with us, and thank you for
I'm
sharing.
so thrilled, you can't imagine.
It's no, it's great. The response has been so positive, and it's I spend so much time in that room just watching, just experiencing the installation, which is really meaningful for our audiences and for everybody who comes to the museum. So thank you for that, and
That's fantastic.
Thanks for talking to me today as well. Now, we're in your studio in Reykjavik. Tell me, am I seeing a hamburger advertisement behind you on the top? Was it an old hamburger shop?
You see, it's a full hamburger shop here.
That is truly amazing. Why? So is your studio in an old hamburger shop, or is this part of the work of art that you're making?
It's part of an art project. My dad's friend called Jay Ranelli.
Yes.
He was a director, and he went to Moscow in around 1990. And I just remember he came to Iceland on a stopover and was like, I went to Moscow, and they just opened a McDonald's in Moscow. It was just before the Soviet Union fell.
Okay.
And in McDonald's in Moscow, there were 3 girls at the counter, and they had the name tags Olga, Masha, and Irena, which are Chekhov's 3 sisters.
Ah, really?
So he was just like, because 3 sisters is always about, it's about this constant longing to get to Moscow. Like the whole play, it's like a repeated phrase, like to Moscow, when will we get to Moscow? And then this was the joke, like they made it to Moscow, and he took a photo of it and showed it to us and all the grown-ups.
That's quite funny that he would have recognized in the names too the Chekhov play immediately. I certainly cannot say that my mind would have gone there instantly. And they finally made it to Moscow. Anyway,
they finally made it to Moscow. So then, like, he died, and we were like, I was talking to his widow and his children, and we were all trying to find the photograph, because I became obsessed about this photograph, but we couldn't find it. So we remade. It's an exact replica of the McDonald's that was in Moscow in 1999. It was open in 1989. You see here is a Gamburger. It's all in Cyrillic letters.
Yes.
So we remade that photo because the photo is lost.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you have 3 women with the name tags and everything in the photo?
Yeah, and it was sort of like, I sort of looked at it as like a history painting, you sort of remade the hamburger shop and like remade the costumes and hairdresser. It was like insane kind of production. And then like my friend, who's a really good commercial photographer,
yes,
came with his mother's old 90s camera and took a photo of it. It's sort of my version of Chekhov's 3 sisters.
I love it.
It's sort of boiled down to one photograph, because the whole play is about this, what the Germans call Sehnsucht, about like longing to get out.
Right? Yeah.
Longing to get out of a place, and that something better is somewhere, and they finally made it to that better somewhere, which is McDonald's in Moscow.
It's interesting to think what having McDonald's in Moscow meant in 1989, right? Meaning was it really McDonald's with the double arches? Because it's such an American thing, and to have the McDonald's there.
I think it just started that tidal wave that like Gorbachev couldn't handle, and like everything crumbled.
Yes.
It was just this idea to bring, because it was a part of the perestroika to sort of open up.
Yes.
So therefore, like McDonald's opened on on Pushkin Square in Moscow, like with a statue of Pushkin overlooking it.
quite the
And
statement in a way, quite the
yeah,
sign, I guess one could say, of
yeah.
what was
So
happening.
I just always loved the story of this moment of like, because like I heard the story as a teenager and I've just thought about it for years and years.
And
And
you
maybe the photograph never existed. Maybe he just told us I should have taken a photo, but we never know.
well, now you've made, as you said, a history painting of the photo of this moment, which has a particular meaning. I want to ask you a few questions specifically about Zumarnod. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, totally right. It's just like perfect, and it's like it's gorgeous with a French R. Because in Icelandic, it's like Sumarnótt, Sumarnótt.
I like the way you say it. Tell me about the genesis of the work. What inspired you to make it? What are the ideas behind it?
It's sort of, I think, the genesis behind it, like the idea that kind of, it's basically friendship that lies behind it. Why it happened? Because the work is such a something that just really happened out of the collaboration I've been having with Kristín Anna and Gyða, the sisters.
Yes.
And then Brett and Aaron, the brothers, in it.
So the two sets of twins that we see in the installation moving across and singing.
Yeah. So we had like it originally started as a project. Like Aaron Dessner asked me to do a project for the Eau Claire Festival in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And there, like, then I just had this idea to do this concert with Bryce and Aaron and Gyða and Kristín, what I had collaborated with before, and sort of create like this visual illusion that it was like a painted vaudeville stage, and like a man and a woman walked across the stage, singing and playing guitar.
Yes.
And then like just like la 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 la. And the second they left the stage, they appeared again from the other side. And it kind of looked like a really crazy stage trick. Like, how could they go the whole circle?
Because they're twins.
Because they're twins. Yeah. So for that weird little concert, we wrote a lot of songs and had like a really beautiful creative storm in my living room in Reykjavik. And there this song was born. It was sort of a collage of like books of poetry in the bookshelf, sort of just like, here you see the bookshelf in the studio.
Yes. So it looks like you've got lots of books to choose from.
Yeah, and it's like you're working with Bryce and Aaron, who are kind of like songwriting machines, and like me and Gyða and Kristín were there, and they just like kind of brought like gorgeous kind of chord patterns and riffs, and to write the melodies with the lyrics on it. Suddenly it became just so easy just to grab a book from the bookshelf. So this is based on a poem by Robert Lux, and then a little bit from Sappho poems that Anne Carson translated, and then this book by Alexander Dumbadze about Basen Ater, which is called Death is Elsewhere. So it's really just like, what do we have? And it's and that became that collage, which is the song. And then this song really became something that we thought was very special, and we were all sort of talking about, that we should do something one day with this song. And then suddenly this idea came to do this video in the midst of a summer night in Iceland, that they are just like walking in this symmetrical circle and singing this song.
Tell me about the specificity of the site. It's a lava field where you can see the Laki volcano in the background. Can you tell me about the choice of that specific site in relation to the work?
Yeah, the choice of the site is like, it's, it is like, I always wanted to film this on in a field in the south of Iceland, where you have like this kind of like like long horizon, but then also like the mountains and this kind of idea of like this crazy landscape in the background also. So it's sort of like, it's almost like when you come to the Rocky Mountains, when there's this like flat land, suddenly they come. And then just the fact that this was like this field, this kind of green field, beside the lava field from Lucky, which is called Eldrin, which is totally awesome. There was something so interesting about this field by this lava field, because like between the field and the lava there is there's a river called Eldvatn.
Okay.
It's really like all the names are pretty metal. It's like fire, lava, and fire, water.
Okay.
In the then this field is like the last remains of a land that used to be there. Like there used to be this really grown countryside there, which was then all taken over by the big Lucky eruption in 1783. And I just find that eruption so crazy interesting also, because it's the eruption that had a huge climate effect in the world, and caused like 1/3 of Icelanders just to die out of famine, because like everything became toxic and poisonous. Both
the ash
around that
in the air and everything, right?
Yeah, mostly the ash in the air. Not like people didn't get crushed under lava. I mean, you can just like walk away from lava.
Yes.
But it's just the toxic fumes that like made the grass sour. So like when the sheep ate the grass, then the sheep died, etc. So people mostly died from famine, and it also caused famine in Europe and all the way to India. It's said that probably somewhere around 80 million people died because of this lava there.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That is sort of, that's like some estimate I read somewhere.
And it's fascinating that it was more the ash than, it's not a Pompeii kind of situation. It was really what happened in the air, in the climate, that had the deepest.
That had the deepest, and had a huge effect on Europe, and caused like the crops to fail in France, which then helped to create social unrest.
Yes.
And then you have the French Revolution. So it's like, I just find this lava field so amazing. It's just something that it's just quiet, beautiful nature, but it totally changed history.
That's it. It's kind of unassuming instigator of historical change, because it set up a series of events that had an impact on the world far beyond its geographical region.
Yeah, totally. But there are a lot of sheeps in this lava, which is quite Marie Antoinette.
Yes, that's right. The sheeps are quite Marie Antoinette. You're right. Totally. But I find this tension between, the words in the song, "Death is elsewhere," and this site where death is literally inscribed into the landscape, which itself, though, is quite beautiful. It's like this beauty, death, love, all sort of come together, or are in a kind of interesting dynamic in the work, which is why I find the choice of setting a song about death being elsewhere in a site of death is interesting choice to make.
Yeah, it felt somehow like, it really felt like, yes, this is what we have to do. Really, like, bum. We have to find this spot of land, and and then film it there. That was like, it was really like a very clear vision in my head, in a way.
And I've heard you talk about the kind of being interested in the sculptural nature of twins, like that it's almost like portraiture in a way. And I seeing these sets of twins walk around, and I was hoping you could say a little bit more about that, the kind of um, way that the space is carved in the installation by these sets of twins that are moving, and why you made the choice of the twins.
Yeah, it was sort of, I mean, it just, I think, having, very good friends, like who are twins, it's very interesting just to party with twins,
Oh yeah, sure.
There's always this kind of, and then also because like I'm such a fan of Ronnie Horn and her works.
Yes.
So I'm, when you're like partying with Keila and Christine, there's like a Ronnie Hornian tension in the room. It's like always symmetry, and and I find that beautiful. And then of course, they are just, then always as at least when you get to know twins, they're these completely different people. They're just like brothers or sisters. It's like very, but it's almost like, I think it's like because I'm very interested in cliches.
Yes,
it's sort of one of those cliches like ta-ta-da twins.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm not so. I think I am interested in it because it's not so special. It's just it's something that just like it's pretty common that twins exist, and they really fascinate us. I find it very sort of beautiful.
Well, it's interesting because it plays almost a trick on your twins can play tricks on your mind. I think that's part of the fascination, right? Because you see these pairs of people that you think are, well, they are of course separate individuals, but they're repeating but not quite the same. So it sort of provokes this sort of interesting questioning of visual perception. That's
also, I think so, of visual. And then I was really happy about what happens in this piece. There's also that sonic perception. Yes. It's even like of course, like Keila and Christine's voices are very similar,
right?
But then it's then Aaron and Bryce play the guitar in a very in these kind of patterns that's totally unique to them.
Yes. Yeah,
it's something two of them started, creating together when they were just small boys, and has stayed with them. These like really these gorgeous guitar patterns that like, that they create in both in in a lot of the music they make. Yeah. So I find it also kind of exciting that you have like both the visual tension and then the sonic tension in the work.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also a work that has an interesting echo on the sort of nature of performance art itself. In a way, you're somebody who has a multi-dimensional practice, multimedia practice, and I've heard you talk about this work in relationship to the nature of performance art. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, just this, like, I just always like the good old idea of performance art as ritual, like with like, the early works of Marina and Ulay, and of course, like also Karoli Schneemann, this like, sort of these ideas of just like kind of the body doing rituals, and just this idea of like, walking in a circle, singing a song at summer solstice. There's some kind of ritual, and I once was so lucky to drink whiskey with Ulay.
Okay.
And he was talking so much about, that when he, in his, when he was a young man in his search for art and meaning, that there was like this, like, he, was thinking a lot about religion and was working with, some indigenous people in, I think, in Australia. And elsewhere, and it was like this thing. He was sort of thinking like, I want to create a humanistic ritual in art, and I really like that sentence, the humanistic ritual.
Humanistic ritual. That's a beautiful thought. You
mentioned it doesn't have anything to do with any deity or anything. It's just humans,
just
It's humans walking in circles, singing a love song.
Yes. There's something kind of beautiful and simple in that idea.
It's something. It's very simple, and it really has relation to that, and then also so just like of the performance art and the idea of the ritual, and then just like performance, like people performing.
Yes.
I just love to look at people perform, and this is sort of like these are extreme conditions, like that they are such good sports that they all agreed, like, yeah, let's be in freaking cold, walking in circles. And
yes, because it's cold. You can see a little bit in the air that they're wearing the cold. Was it freezing?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
It's always freezing in Iceland, in the summer. And
is it? I've never been there. I'm embarrassed to say I'd really like to go. But I've not been. So it's on my list of.
That's very good.
But I really, really like to go. You mentioned Carolee Schneemann, a American pioneer of performance. Why did you, and this piece is dedicated to her, so why did you dedicate the work to her?
It was like I was working on it, and and this idea came, after like having done this song, and always wanted to do something with it. Then this idea came to create this circular installation and work with kind of this like totally circular moment and in it, and this sort of omnipresence of the video around you. And I thought a lot about Carolee Schneemann's work in that. In relationship to that, because like she's a pioneer in so many ways, and she always looked at art as video art or film to like as a medium to deal with painting. Yes,
that's very true.
And then she like started creating these like system of mirrors and stuff, so that like a gallery, like the video would like completely embrace you in a gallery.
Do you think there's a painterly dimension to this work? Do you?
Absolutely, yeah. I really look at it as a painting. I look at it also like as these, these war paintings. When you like come to some, it's like what they're called, like circlorama.
Cyclorama, exactly.
Cyclorama, yeah.
Panoramic circle paintings. Yes, absolutely.
So it really has a relation to that, and then I was thinking, about Carolee's work, and I wrote to her because we became really good friends, and sort of like a very much of a mentor to me, really. Okay. So I wrote to her and like told her that I was working on this piece, and I was sort of that it was. I think I joked something about like I'm really ripping you off, and I hope it's and she was really cool about it, and just was like excited, and like I look forward to see the work, and then she just died. Yeah, like a month later.
Oh, really? She died a month later after you had that conversation. It's very sad, her death. It was I know so many people who were close to her, and really, it was a sad moment for anybody who appreciates art and the history of art. Of course, I'm sorry that.
It was this weird thing, when like a great artist dies, you're like, it's like sad, but also it's almost like, bomb, like, like it's almost like her all of her work almost became like projected, like it's like also just like the fact that she got to live such an amazing life, and to change so much in her life, and to like her artworks really changed the way we think about art, and the way we think about women in art, and the body in art, and just like I mean, imagine when she started, she was expelled from Bard College for painting a nude portrait of herself.
That is, times have changed. Goodness, that's a shocking fact.
Yeah, so that she lived in that kind of world and managed to break out of that world and like change the world for all of us.
But
So
the large reason why that kind of expulsion doesn't happen anymore, or happens with less frequency, I hope, touch wood.
yeah,
But, you know, it took people like her to make that kind of change possible.
yeah, and she really gave everything into it, and like she really gave her, she really sort of gave her life and happiness and whatnot to like kind of be somebody who cleared the path
Yeah.
for those who came behind her. And so it was like, it was both, of course, like really personally saddening
Yes.
to lose a friend, but also like there was also this strange feeling of victory you also get
Hmm. Hmm.
from just that she was just such a brilliant artist and brilliant person that like uh yeah, you just like you were really like in awe.
Yes.
And then like she also like asked to be buried outside of the church, of the cemetery, like
Hmm.
close to where she lives. So she's like buried in the woods outside of the cemetery,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is just like, I think it's it's like one of the,
Strong
yeah, of
statement.
course,
Of
yeah,
course, outside the,
it's like the witches were buried outside of the
yes,
cemetery.
kind of outside the designated place,
Yeah,
someplace apart. It's a very strong final statement, if one will.
yeah, very strong. And it's like a, yeah, and to think about, so it's so that was felt very kind of natural to just like, it was sort of like, of course this is this
Yes.
piece dedicated to Carly, also because it is about it is about love and death, and she was all about love and death.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like her works are so kind of about kind of the beauty of the erotic and whatnot.
Yes. That's very
Yeah.
true. So, speaking of love and death, last question for you. One of the things that's been so interesting to me in experiencing this work this year is to think about how profoundly it resonates in this pandemic time when we are kind of surrounded by death and have been. Hopefully, we're coming out of it, but it's something that certainly. Um, you can feel the specter of death kind of looming in all of our collective recent history. Of course, you made the work before the
Yeah.
pandemic, but I'm interested in how, um, for you, uh, and how you see this work's relationship to our current historical moment now, even though you obviously weren't imagining the pandemic when you made it, and yet it seems to have this strong resonance in light of the history now.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking a lot about about the lucky eruption in 1783, which was this one kind of like
World
thing.
altering event.
What kind of the world is affected by one thing.
Hmm.
But that was like in the back of my head. I was just thinking about this
Yes.
this this ritual of love and death in circles on a midsummer night.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I was just, I think there was a lot of there is a lot of just that feeling in it of like of there is a moment when you feel like you are safe and sound,
Yes.
but and that is elsewhere,
Hmm.
but you're always kind of surrounded by it, and it's a was sort of a metaphor about that. I guess that it it's just it's of course a really sad thing that the work resonates with our times. That like that we have to have been through these times, and but it sort of does, and I think a lot of artworks do, and artworks
Yes.
by many artists just suddenly change you look at them in a different context after the pandemic.
Yes, they seem to have a different kind of story to tell, which is part of the beauty of art and art history, right? Is that
Yeah,
it's not static necessarily. There's no one kind of static meaning in that way. And you said that you've kind of sad how it resonates so deeply, but I think I would just say that people when I witness people in the company of that work and in others as well that have a particular residence now, seems like people also need that. It's that they need which these kind of encounters with art that speak in an abstract but also very profound way to emotions and experiences that we've all kind of collectively lived, although each in his or her own individual way. But it's refreshing and powerful to see people interacting and finding this kind of these echoes in the work. All I'm trying to say, and not being very concise in saying, is that I think people need works of art like this, and I'm grateful that we're able to show it in Montreal. So thank you so much.